the Qur'an. We've given you a powerful Qur'an, the Prophet is told. مَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْهُ, whoever turns away from it, deliberately ignores it. I'rad in Arabic doesn't just mean to ignore. It means you know it's right there and you kind of take a turn and avoid it. Like you do with the police. You go around the other block. Right? مَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْهُ فَإِنَّهُ يَحْمِلُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وِزْرًا. Then he is the one, in fact, that is going to be carrying on the Day of Judgment a huge burden, a huge responsibility. Because the wizard is not just of living a life of sin, it's the load, the burden of avoiding carrying the burden of revelation in this life. It's a very interesting contrast that's been drawn. This, the revelation itself, Allah Azza wa Jalla says to us, رَبَّنَا لَا تَحْمِلْ عَلَيْنَا إِصْرًا كَمَا حَمَلْتَهُ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِنَا. In Baqarah, in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah tells us, don't load a burden onto us that we're not able to carry. So carrying revelation is like carrying a burden. It is a responsibility and you have to take care of it. But this person avoided that burden. So Allah says, that's the guy that on Judgment Day is going to be carrying a burden. A huge burden. خَالِدِينَ فِيهِ. They're going to remain permanently in that burden, buried in that burden. وَسَاءَ لَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ حِمْلًا. And how horrible on the Day of Judgment is their ultimate load. Now there's two words for loads and burdens that's used. There's wizr and there's himl. Himl actually is the أكثر ما تستطيع. أكثر ما استطعت. The most you can possibly carry. The most you can possibly carry. And Allah says how horrible on the Day of Judgment, the ultimate load on top of them. Meaning Allah will keep piling on to them and keep piling on until they can't take any more. If they took any more, they wouldn't exist. And just to understand, it's not like in this dunya. In this dunya you have a certain amount of weight you can carry and then you'll be crushed to death. But in akhirah, لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا. He doesn't die, he doesn't live. So that burden it keeps getting increased until the guy gets crushed and then he was brought back to life, and it's increased again and he's crushed and he's brought back to life again. It keeps on loading. يَوْمَ يُنْفَخُ فِي الصُّورِ. The day on which it will be blown into the trumpet, meaning the Day of Judgment. وَنَحْشُرُ الْمُجْرِمِينَ. And we will herd the criminals. يَوْمَئِذٍ زُرْقًا. We're going to herd them on that day turning blue. Zurqa describes, some say it describes the color of their eyes. This was used in Arabic poetry to say that someone is terrified. They're so terrified their eyes turn blue. Turning blue was basically like you see death. Your eyes lost their color. So some say that Zurqa refers to that. Others say that it's the look of death that's going to be on their face. يَتَخَافَتُونَ بَيْنَهُمْ. They're going to be whispering quietly to one another. Hey, so how long do you think we were out? إِلَّا بِثْتُمْ إِلَّا عَشْرًا. They're talking among each other quietly. They're so terrified on Judgment Day. And then they say, you didn't remain on the earth except 10 days. عَشْرًا. You just remained just 10 days. That's all our life was. That's all I can think of. Maybe a week and a half. That's how long we lived on the earth. نَحْنُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا يَقُولُونَ. We know best what they're going to be saying on that day. إِذْ يَقُولُ أَمْثَلُهُمْ طَرِيقَةً. When the most cultured of them is going to say, now this is a really interesting piece of irony in the surah. Before we learned that Fir'aun said to his people, these guys, Musa and Harun, they want to get rid of your exemplary lifestyle, your amazing lifestyle. طَرِيقَتُكُمْ الْمُثْلَى. You remember that phrase? Right? طَرِيقَتُكُمْ الْمُثْلَى. Your perfect lifestyle. They want to get rid of that. Allah says the most cultured of them, أَمْثَلُهُمْ طَرِيقَةً, the most exemplary of them in his lifestyle, meaning the ones that had the highest status in this world and thought they know the most. What's their fatwa going to be? إِلَّا بِثْتُمْ إِلَّا يَوْمًا. You only remained here for a day. Meaning the wrongest answer, how long did you live in this world, comes from supposedly the most knowledgeable among them. This is to illustrate the ones who think they know the most in this world are going to be the most ignorant on Judgment Day. They had the highest position here, they're going to have the lowest position there. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْجِبَالِ قُلْ يَنْسِفُهَا رَبِّي نَسْفًا. They ask you about the mountains. Tell them, my master is going to sink them. يَنْسِفُهَا رَبِّي نَسْفًا. He's going to break them to pieces and sink them. فَيَذَرُهَا قَاعًا صَفْصَفًا. And he's going to abandon them soft, turn soft, and smooth, rows upon rows. This is the description in Arabic of an endless desert. Because a desert, the soil is smooth, the sand is smooth. You can sink your feet in it. And if you look at it from above, like we can get an aerial view, or you stand on top of a dune and you look at an endless desert, it looks like rows, right? The saf, from saf. And saf is a row. So saf, endless rows of just nothing, of smooth sand. لا ترى فيها عوجا. You won't even, and by the way, as it is rose, it won't be like the rose you see now, because in the rose you see now, you see ups and downs, right? You won't even see in it any deviation. وَلَا أَمْتَى, nor a single dune, not a single rise. It's going to be completely flat. يَوْمَئِذٍ يَتَّبِعُونَ الدَّاعِي